freedom. It's a concept that everyone chases in their life, often without realizing it. As humans, we naturally strive to be independent in our day-to-day choices, such as the food we eat or when and where we want to go. This is why so many people want to get rich quickly so they aren't forced to clock into a job on someone else's terms. This idea of striving for freedom being instilled in us as humans is important because while it can be beautiful when achieved, it can also be detrimental when pursued in the wrong way. Eren and Luffy are perfect examples of this duality. Eren went about chasing freedom in a way that led to his downfall, while Luffy's journey is leading towards success. In this video, I'm going to compare the differences in Eren and Luffy's idea of freedom, as well as their approach towards achieving it. Without further ado,
water that glows like fire, fields of ice, sandy snowfields. To witness all that, was to know the greatest freedom this world could offer.
We're here! We're free!
In order to understand Eren's perception of freedom, we have to first look at his background and how this impacted his interpretation of what it means to be free. Eren was born in the Shigashina district inside Wall Maria. His entire life was confined inside these walls, and after hearing from Armin about the sea and the entire world outside the walls, Eren's idea of freedom was established. His idea of freedom at this time was simply escaping the confines of these walls. This led to him joining the Survey Corps, as they were the only ones allowed to leave the walls to go on various missions. While he was with the Survey Corps, they made a lot of progress in expanding their small civilization thanks to Eren's newfound Titan powers. The further they made it outside the walls, the closer they seemed to freedom. On his journey with the Survey Corps, Eren remained positive and fought for the freedom of what he believed to be the entirety of humanity. However, this would all change when they made it all the way to the basement of his childhood home. Upon reaching the basement and learning of the outside world and how the Eldians were subjugated by the Marleyans, Eren's perspective shifted. Eren's idea of freedom went from exploring outside the walls to lifting his people, the Eldians, from the subjugation and isolation of the rest of the world. This, however, was not his mistake. His mistake was the path he went down to achieve that goal. Eren not only used violence to attain this idea of freedom, but at the time he deprived the masses of the freedom he desperately fought for. Violence as a means toward achieving freedom can be practical, however it can be excessive, which is what ultimately leads to your own destruction. Eren had the support of his people when he was just fighting the oppressors for the sake of the oppressed. When he began to take the fight to lengths even his allies saw unfit, his downfall slowly began. In the Eldians' invasion of Marley, Eren began to become unrecognizable by his closest friends due to his actions and violence towards innocent Marleyans, which included many children. This idea is also emphasized in the scene during the rumbling, where during the chaos everything is black and white except for the innocent child. Eren, using the rumbling to achieve what he thought was freedom, was instead depriving the masses of the simplest form of freedom, life. Eren lost himself in search of freedom, which led to him fighting for a selfish freedom for a few instead of the freedom of the masses. His selfish freedom became destructive to the world as a whole and led to him being killed by his childhood friend as a means to an end.
Oh, in that case, let me ask you, do you think you can do it? The new world far surpasses anything you can imagine. Your foes will be powerful. Knowing that, do you still think you can rule this mighty sea?
What? I don't want to rule anything. Being king of the pirates is about being more free than anyone.
Huh? I see.
On the other hand, in Luffy's case, his view of freedom was always inclusive and positive. Growing up hearing pirate stories from Shanks inspired Luffy to not only want to become a pirate, but the king of pirates. To Luffy, the Pirate King was the most free man in the world. He could go anywhere in the world freely and had a crew as tight-knit as a family. From the beginning, Luffy's idea of freedom had no intentions of stepping on others. He instead liberated others along his journey. This is what we see him do in so many arcs and for so many different people. We see this in Dressrosa, where the citizens are under the oppressive control of Doflamingo. Luffy fights Doflamingo after hearing about his mistreatment of the citizens and people Luffy considered to be friends. See, Luffy had his own personal reasons for wanting to fight Doflamingo, but after hearing the stories from Rebecca, the Toy Soldier, and the Tontatas, Luffy gets emotionally invested and fights for the sake of his newfound comrades. This is very similar to what happens in Wano as well. Luffy's plan was always to take down Kaido, but after hearing about his reign of terror and oppression of the people of Wano, Luffy became even more hell-bent on taking him down. This is the ultimate difference between Luffy and Eren. Luffy fights for the freedom of the majority, which in turn leads to him having the support of others and building a bond through camaraderie. Eren, on the other hand, lost his closest comrades due to his selfish and careless actions. Luffy has a support system of people that knows he wants the freedom of everyone before his own selfish desires. Luffy's positive and unselfish approach to freedom opened doors for him, while Eren's left him alone in the end. Ultimately, looking at Eren and Luffy's stories, there's a lot we can learn. One of the most important lessons being that if you're fighting for freedom, it's important to keep your methods in control. Eren took things too far in his fight for the freedom of the Eldians and started killing innocent people, which made him lose the support of his few allies. As a leader, selflessness is important, as we see demonstrated by Luffy. His positivity and selflessness draws everyone toward him, and the fact that he fights for them with his all leads to strong bonds being built. These relationships are important because that is what leads to true freedom. Luffy can go so many places and will have people who love and support him because of his actions. Eren's actions gain him more enemies than anything, which in the end led to his demise. If you made it this far in the video, I love you and I'm out. Peace.